Talofa everyone, Aogamalie Sione Sione here from Organic Talanoa. Welcome to Season 2. It's been a bit of a journey. We've gone through Season 1. Thank you to those who have liked, subscribed and shared. Want to thank a few people, Campfire Studios with Will and Guy, also Miranda Davis around with the background work that she's doing. Also want to thank our families, our friends that have been supporting this Talanoa. As well, I'd like to thank my wife in supporting this crazy idea. Glad you're here for the journey. Lots more interesting Talanoa. Enjoy Season 2.
This one's for you and you and you. And you and you and you. This one's for you and you and you.
Da 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 da.
I'd like to introduce my guest today, Patrick Petelo. I'll let him introduce himself, and no doubt you're going to find some very interesting things about our guest today. So, over to you, my man.
Oh, thank you very much, and Talofa lava. So yes, like Patrick Petelo, so born and bred South Auckland, from way out in Papakura. So Sio and I go way back many years. So it's actually been it's an honour and a privilege to be on your show, and you know the amazing work that you're doing with the Talanoa. So yeah, and I'm just happy to be here and to share some of my kind of life and stories and that. So like I said, born and bred out South Auckland, deep in the South Auckland, and then schooled at De La Salle College, which I'm very proud of, and then worked my way up from there, and now officially living out West Auckland. So I think I can actually vouch that I'm a true Westie now and love it out there in Waitakere City. So and look, it brings me here today to share with you today. So it's an honour, and thank you.
Nice kurahat, as they normally say.
Exactly.
I'm hearing a lot of the kurahati or kuraphonia. It's all coming out. I guess back in our days were a bit different. Kura was different. Only a handful of polys back then. We kind of all knew each other. So really good to have you back on the show, bro. Probably just touching back on West Auckland. And I know now that from there being, I know your heart's still out south. If I went into, we were talking around the work that you've done out west.
Yeah.
So I know that there's an immense amount of business work that you've done out there as well, and I guess your career as well. Yeah, if you want to touch a bit just on your business side that you're doing out there.
Yeah, there's quite a few kind of parts to what I do, and PJC Agencies is probably the biggest part that was birthed in 2020, the end of 2020. So COVID was a hard time for many people. So and it was no different to me. So I'd been in a role as a general manager of Russell Corporation, looking after Russell Athletic as a brand and Sporting as a brand. After 12 years, I was made redundant. So it really kind of was an eye-opener for me to say that, look, at the end of the day, that like if a business is really struggling, that, you know, nothing's forever. And I was very comfortable in that position. So I was at a crossroads in my career, and I had to make some decisions, and I'm a real big advocate of people taking in that leap of faith. Yet here I was in a comfortable role, having all the perks of being an employee, to staring down the barrel of having to become my own business owner, which a lot of challenges comes with that, because you're a one-man band. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to take the leap of faith and do it. So I started up PJC Agencies, which stands for myself, obviously Patrick, and my two kids, which are Javier and Cruz. Agencies Limited, and for 9 months I ground out 70 to 80 hours a week to get this off the ground, and invested every last cent that I had to make it work. And I thought to myself, and there were some dark days, there was plenty of dark days there, plus having to deal with a global pandemic, where I sat there and was thinking, I could easily just go and get another job and work for another business. And then what kept me true to that was the fact that, I've made millions and millions of dollars for businesses. There's no reason why I shouldn't. I couldn't do it for myself. And I just thought the freedom of it all, to be able to just, do what I, in my time frames, work my hours, and integrate that with my life and everything. And also be the person that's in control of my destiny, basically. So like if I did the mahi, I did the work, and Ngaruenga then, then I'll reap the benefits from that. And if I didn't do it, then don't expect anything from it. So it was a real character building for me. So PJC Agencies is a wholesaling business. So I'm the exclusive sales agent for Russell Athletic, Canterbury Clothing for regional accounts across New Zealand, also Everlast Boxing. Then I've just brought on an eyewear business brand called Cito Eyewear, which I'm launching in November and December, which is really, really exciting. So that's kind of one facet of what I'm doing, which is what puts bread on the table for myself and my family.
Just touching a bit on there, so the resilience and I guess the determination, I'm going to just sort of sidetrack a bit there because I know this has come from somewhere. I guess if our people listeners out there would know that Patrick Petelo, yes, if we're looking at the sportsman Patrick Petelo, I guess did that influence the way you've come about now, being that resilience, the determination that you've built now with your businesses, how sports sort of influenced a bit of that?
Oh, definitely. And even before the sports was a very very strict father that had very, very high standards of his children. And back then, discipline was paramount in our family, in our household, as it was with a lot of Pacific Islanders, island families. And at the time, being young, we didn't quite understand why Dad was so tough on us. But as I grew older and as I grew older, I then saw the reasons why, was to don't expect any less, have higher standards, do everything or don't, well, or don't do it at all. So when I was able to kind of get through all of that and realize that, I transitioned to anything that I took on board, whether it was my education. And fortunately enough, I had the natural ability that was gifted to me from my father and the Petelo family, was rugby. And I channeled all that kind of resilience and determination to achieve what every Kiwi kid out there wants to achieve, and that's to become an All Black. And I was fortunate enough to play for New Zealand schools and 19s and Colts and Evan and share with my brothers and yourself on the rugby field, which some amazing memories. And rugby was a massive part of my life, right from 7 years old when my friend Paul Goldfinch and Luke Ellington snuck me off and played my first game of rugby because my dad was a huge kind of advocate of athletics when we were young. Got us into rugby and I owe a lot to that, because to get to the level that I wanted to be, I had to have a lot of high expectations of myself, right to, getting myself to trainings, training myself, doing it on my own, doing all the things in the dark that would hopefully shine in the light type of thing. So very cliche as that may sound, that's basically what you have to do to get to a high level. So transitioning from after my rugby career into business, I've always held that of myself, like that standard I'd never fall below. I do have high standards. I'm probably my biggest enemy when it comes to, pushing myself beyond and having a high expectation of myself, because what you put out there is a reflection of you. And I'm a big believer in that. So when I put something out there, I'd like to reflect the standards that I've been brought up with and my dad's bestowed on me. So, yeah.
Did anyone ever take up piano? I know Dad played piano. If anyone any of you musicians?
Yeah, one dream that he wanted one of us to at least do was play the piano. So my sister did for a bit. That lasted all of about 7 minutes. She was pretty good though in saying that. I took up the guitar. I owe a lot of that to a very good friend of mine, Rokini, who was my best friend at school. And taught me the guitar, which was really, it was actually really nice to actually have, to learn an instrument and to have that skill outside of rugby, outside of the kind of other things that are in life that are probably more mainstream. And learning an instrument, it's a discipline as well. Probably not as disciplined in that as I am in other things, but I definitely love music, and we were around a household of music when we were growing up. So
do you reckon, I guess I'm not sure whether the old man was good at athletics himself, but it was probably he could foresee that this was going to be useful for you in the future, because not many people, I know you're a winger, but back at school, Pat Petelo was quite good. I think you actually were quite well known in the secondary schools as well, being quite fast. So do you reckon Dad had already foreseen that? Because athletics isn't your normal that we send our kids to, PIs especially. But something that I remember you actually put a lot of time into.
Yeah, my dad was very diligent at that kind of stuff. So like whether it was playing the piano, going to church, getting us to athletics, he was very diligent at those things. So we grew up obviously in the athletics realm, and I think that a lot of my rugby success came from that, because it's an individual sport. You're on your own, you're on the start line, and it's all up to you, you know. And when I talk about being in control of your own destiny, that's, you know, at its pinnacle. Like you start and you finish the race wherever you end up is exactly your doing, right? So, and yes, I was naturally gifted. My dad was a sprinter as well back in Samoa, so that natural gift that he's given to me, I give on to my son Cruz, who is not too bad himself. And it's an amazing thing, genetics. So to see that, so definitely he must have foreseen it. I foresee it in Cruz. I just have a different approach. Children are very different these days in how they embrace encouragement and constructive criticism. So I've just got to be mindful of that too.
You know, like say Cruz does real well in the game. I know, what's your approach to it? Are you a PI dad, like tough, or you actually go out there and just tell them, oh, well done, you know, or I guess sometimes it's that tough love we try to show the kids, like, no, I need you to push even harder. So what's your approach to your son at the moment, knowing that you've been in those?
Interesting. And as you know, like with children these days, it's very different. They've grown up in a different society and with different pressures. So I've learned very quickly from my son that he thrives on encouragement. So it's funny enough, under 7s, under 8s, under 9s, I watched my son pick daisy chains on the field, and I'm sitting here going, come on, mate. But I've never pressured him to live up to an expectation of mine. I don't think that's good for him. Like, he won't respond to it. I know he doesn't. I'm the type of father I've kept my mouth shut on the sideline, and it's been tough at times. But I think the biggest thing is to self-evaluate, allow him the time to self-evaluate. Like I'd always get him in the car. He knows exactly what it is. And I try and reinforce to him, you're not playing for me, you're playing for you. So I know, it sounds cliche, but it is. That's the best response I get out of Cruz, and for him to find the love for it himself. And I think that's what's naturally just happened with him. Like he's a confident boy, and he's a very social boy. But knowing that I am supporting him and encouraging him in that way, it's only going to get the best out of him. If I was to rip into him and give him, the 3rd degree every time he does something wrong, he'll go in a shell, and then he'll probably tend to move away from it or gravitate away from it, which I don't want him to do. Yeah.
Oh, well done, bro. Because easily, we think about our parents and the way they sort of handled those situations.
Very different. And trust me, there's times I've closed the door and said other things, but generally, he's a good boy, and I think he knows what his potential is. He needs to unlock it himself.
I'm going to come back now back to West Auckland. Knowing that you don't get a physique like that, Petelo. So I guess in your own wellness, you have probably ways of how you deal with it, like I guess mentally, physically. So what do you get up to just for your own time or when you're with your groups?
Yeah, it's the transition from rugby outside of rugby, and I know a lot of rugby players can attest to this, that have come from a professional era, and then all of a sudden they've come to the end of the career and they're asking themselves, what now? The biggest thing is, what do I put my energy into? So I was fortunate enough that I was introduced to bodybuilding, and I never thought that I'd do this, being the personality that I am, and to stand up on stage, tanned up in jocks. It was very much a total opposite to who I am as a person. But man, it was just defining. Like it really was. It just showed me a different realm of discipline, and taught me a lot about nutrition and training, and it got me out of bed to stay physical and to keep fit. But then transitioning from there, I thought, there's something else for me, and CrossFit obviously came into the picture, which initially I wasn't a big fan of. I used to watch this and I just thought, that's not me. But man, I've found a real new appreciation for the sport, the disciplines in the sport, and it's exactly who I am as a person. So, and it's really challenged me in many ways. So, and trying to find the balance in doing that. With a busy lifestyle, I've always been physical and always been active. And I kind of want to stay that way to promote that to my children, as much as they're always not always as active as I would like them to be. But that's the type of role model I'm trying to, not just for my children, but just for people in general, our people in general. Like Waitakere City has a real low participation rate in children, and they've had to deal with COVID, a pandemic. I don't think anyone would have foreseen this, so, team sports have really kind of been pushed aside and things like that because it's been interrupted. So, through those avenues, I've been able to kind of keep active and know that there's a bigger calling for me in that side of it, which is fills my cup, basically. Yeah.
I see you've got I think a CrossFit comp coming up for the colleges.
Yeah, so that's a big initiative for PJC Productions, which is my event side of my business. So it's another pie that I got my finger in. A really massive initiative with heaps of capillaries off that. Yeah. Like it's the whole integration of youth and activeness. It's promoting that obviously youth and exercise, and but also marrying up the relationship between CrossFit boxes and gyms out West Auckland with schools, which I think there's a lot of leveraging that can come of that, which I think both parties could benefit from. Schools can have the help of gyms and very qualified coaches to help their children move well. So it's not just about exercising, it's about movement and moving really well and moving safely and moving injury-free, because a lot of our kids aren't exposed to that. It's also an opportunity for me to kind of make an impact on that participation rate, give kids the exposure to a sport that may not be a tier 1 or tier 2 sport, because CrossFit is still pretty young in New Zealand. But I think that exposure would really kind of show all the diversity of the sport. And this is what I really love about it. And then it brings our community closer. Yeah. So, and that's the big part of this initiative, is marrying up gyms, schools, people, PIs, Māori, and getting them all active, in a really cool kaupapa, it means a lot. Yeah.
Hard up instead of being the higher stats, with everything bad around health and that. Physical activation, it's good to see you getting, engaging with a lot of the youth in terms of yours is just one of, I guess, with the CrossFit. With CrossFit, so you're getting a lot of some of the youth coming in, I guess, if we look at the wider community. Do you find a lot of them, they're a bit nervous coming into it? So I guess the way you sort of introduce that to the your groups, is it once they got the confidence, do you find that, they just love it and they seem to keep coming back all the time?
Yeah, like I think that's the biggest obstacle with CrossFit and any functional gym is what's advertised out there as the pinnacle of their marketing tools, which is these absolute beasts that do everything and they're the fittest in the world. And that's the top tier. If you look at the segmentation triangle, you'll find that CrossFit is built on just everyday people, down the bottom end, and that's what gets less exposure. And I suppose with us here, one of our deliverables for the CrossFit Waitakere and the other 3 owners that own the gym with is to expose that to people and say, hey, it is a safe environment to train in. You don't have to, the old adage, I'm just going to get fit and then I'll start. Like, no, get rid of that mentality and come here, not just to get fit, but to move well, move correctly. One of the biggest goals that we're trying to achieve with CrossFit and functional fitness is as you get older, is moving well and being able to move really well. As your body starts to, change and it gets a lot harder to move and that. So, so I think that's kind of where it's at. And it's definitely showing people that everyday people are capable of this. Like, it's more that than the top tier that you see on TV.
That's cool. I like, and I love, I did a bit of Kebs classes, and there were guys in there, I'm sure they're over 50, they're probably in their 60s, Yeah. But that's what I loved. It was like, it's for everyone. And, I kind of think back to when I started, like, trying to learn Olympic lifts. Yeah. I see ladies that were like lifting way more than me, but I was still on the stick.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, the dowel, eh?
You know, and that was like sucking in my pride, man,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, we've all been there. Don't worry. I started on the dowel, and you know, didn't take too much time. And then I was on the bar, and I stayed on the bar and it was very humbling. But that's all the part of the learning, which I think CrossFit and functional gyms have a real advantage of, is that what keeps people consistent and persistent is the fact that there's so much to learn, you know, and it's always kind of out of reach. So you've got to learn this and got to learn that. And it's always that sense of achievement every time you're going back to the gym. And I think that's what retains people and the growth. And then obviously the community, if it's a really cool place, really cool vibe. I know a lot of people chuck the term around community like it's just a throwaway saying, but no, if you can really create a community built on vibe and love and engagement through your actually members, you'll always have a successful business. Yeah. So
I mean, yeah, man, love seeing the community come in, being part of the group, and that's what a lot of them probably love. They just love being part of it, you know.
Yeah.
Even if they might not be pretty average, but man, average is still good, man. You know, at least you're giving it a go.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, let's you turn up to the gym and you're doing more than the person that's on the couch, right? So like, and I think that's the biggest achievement is if you can get up and walk into that gym, which is pretty intimidating for a lot of people that haven't really exercised or anything like that. I think the half of the battle is already won. Like I reckon more than half the battle is won, because once you're there, then it's such support around the gyms, and not just our gym, but around a lot of gyms, you know, and that's what they base it on. So yeah.
I guess come back now. Gonna look back to the older siblings.
Yeah.
The influences, I guess, they've had on your life, because I know, being the younger one, I guess maybe some of the sacrifices they've had to sort of do to sort of being able to push you through. So, I mean, I know your brother and them, the one over in Oz, you got your sister, and then the other brother here. But I guess the influences they've had on your life as well.
Yeah. Look, I'm the youngest of four, for those out there that don't know. So I'm oldest brother of Tala, and then I've got my second oldest brother, Simon, and my sister, June. And it's funny because Tala's obviously here in New Zealand. Yeah. June is doing her thing over in Samoa, and then Simon over in Australia. So, you know, as much as we're very close, you know, the locations of everyone and the geographic placement of everyone makes it hard. Like, but growing up, we were a really close-knit family. Like, and I think I owe a lot to my brothers, especially Tala, who was the oldest of us four. So he paved the way, and he was like our parent growing up. He did a lot of the lunches. He would dry our clothes and wash our school clothes, and he was just that role model, you know, that role for us and that staple for us whilst my mum and dad worked to put food on the table. Simon was he was always my carer. So he was the protector of me. So, and if anyone kind of was, you know, in the wrong with me, he would be the first one to step up, and he was awesome sports person too, you know, and opportunities obviously just didn't go his way as well as it did for me, but I think he paved the way for me, and the way that Dad kind of brought me up as well. June was always the cushion between our father and us. So she took a lot of brunt of it, and I owe a lot to her, and a lot of thanks to her. Because she was able to, you know, just balance out our father and stuff like that. So us boys would shy away, and she would step up and, you know, and be that cushion for us. So, you know, and they had it a lot harder than myself, you know, and especially, you know, in June, like Simon and Tala went through some really tough times when my parents just first got here, and they really struggled to put food on the table and moving from place to place and that kind of stuff, as a lot of Pacific Islanders did when they came here, trying to really make ends meet. So they were integral to my upbringing. And then when I started to achieve the successes that I did, they were in full support. They've always have been, even to this day with my business and everyone. They're the first people to pat me on the back and push me along and continue. So I owe a lot to them. I love them heaps. Yeah. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
I guess when I'm thinking about with family and that, did you manage to catch up? Like, I guess with the pandemic and the lockdown, did you manage to catch up online? Or was there anything you did regular?
Yeah, we should have probably did it a lot more. Like the death of our father a few years ago really hit us hard as a family. Also being not in the same areas and same place. The pandemic was a real, COVID was such an anomaly, and how we dealt with it was really tough, being separated, locked down. And, I'm going to be honest, we could have done better. But as a close family in that, we don't always have to be in contact, but I think there was room for us to actually be in more contact than each other. Like I know Simon struggled with it, being across an Oz and not seeing us family and June and them, over in Samoa. So there's always room to actually kind of catch up a lot more. Yeah.
I guess when we're looking now, with the group of maybe more Westies now, your friends over there, did you manage to catch up? As boys, or even like a group of family friends out during the pandemic around, did you manage to catch up?
Yeah, when we were able to, and when the restrictions were pulled back, it was important that we did. Like I know out west, and the boys will attest to this. So we have a brotherhood. Yeah. We had a brotherhood that we all us boys used to contribute to every week, and then we'll get to, and it would force us to come together. And that's when it was our time, like life gets so busy, everyone's working, everyone's doing this and that, and kids and by the time there's no time, and before you know it, 3 years goes past, or you see the person's child and they're like 6'2", and the last time you saw them was a child, and you go, oh man, we haven't caught up for a while, But it forced us to come together. So that whole brotherhood concept was really, really good, and that was led by a friend of mine called Mana, and obviously DJ Forbes, Ray, all the boys were in that, and I owe a lot to them. During a kind of rough time in my life that I was going through. But then also the gym was really a good for me during that lockdown period, because we were able to kind of bring the community together. Although it was outside and there were restrictions around that, having that people contact was amazing. People thrived on it. I mean, a lot of people were battling with mental health issues, being separated from people just in general, and that people contact. It was unbelievable. Like we'll look back on this in 10 years time and go, remember when we were locked down? Okay, how weird was that?
Oh man. So did you ever go at one point online for the CrossFit, or you just?
Yeah, so we did a lot of online classes, they were really successful too, because you could just feel. You could feel the warmth and the need for it, because when the class was finished, no one would get off. I guess, okay, guys, the next class needs to start. So, but people wanted to interact; they wanted to stay online. But also the session was really good too, because it was a time to share that everyone a common thread, which was the exercise, right? But then. Knowing that there were other people out there going through the same thing, you could, and just the happiness that it brought, seeing other people online, because the first 10 minutes of the session, when I'm trying to warm everyone up and other coaches are trying to warm them up, everyone's gas bagging and talking and stuff like that. So good signs though, which is really nice. It is awesome. Really cool. And I think those are really important. We had some friend catch-ups as well. We played games online. So we had bingo with a few friends and quiz nights, which was really, really cool. It just brought people together in different ways, and with the goal of just interacting with each other, keeping checking in.
It's amazing how everyone was missing face-to-face, like catching up. But good to have that opportunity, and well done. I know a lot of gyms, probably a lot of providers in fitness and health, they were all trying to find a way, just find. Do you have any elderly? Do you have any elderly people, or I guess older? When I mean older, maybe over late 50s, 60s in your?
Yeah, so we've got that in our main membership. Yeah. So we do have older people in our memberships, which you may think they're old, but they're those ones that lift and train harder, than a lot of the people in our gym. So. But yes, they do. So they're in the general population of our members. So they would just jump in. But we also run a program called Fit 30, which generally has people that really struggle with movement or are generally older. So Leslie, one of our coaches, runs that program. So she had classes specifically for them, which was also was really important too, because, just like anyone, they were also missing face-to-face contact. And a lot of those people and a lot of people in the our general membership are real social people, like I am too. So I love people contact and talking and everything like that. So having that one-to-one or face-to-face, whether it be online or in person, was just valuable.
Because a whole lot of them got left behind when everything went online. So that's why I was just like wondering, I wonder if, because I remember some of our online classes, it was like guys were messaging, I don't know how to get. So we kind of had to talk them through it. So I'm not sure whether you got any of that, but you may have known of some cases.
Yeah, I did hear of some gyms, and not just the people that weren't very computer savvy, because that's rife along middle age, everything, like people couldn't get on and they missed out, and that was the biggest thing, is instructions and trying to get people to know and make it easy. So for us, it was, let's build a process and a pathway so that it made it a lot really easy for people so they don't miss out, because that was the one time that they could touch base with somebody throughout that 24 hours. If they missed it, it would, like, normally it would just be, I just missed class. But in the pandemic, it was like, you don't want to miss a class because that's their one touch point, So I did hear it, and that was one of our goals, was to make sure that people didn't miss out, because it was so important that they didn't. Yeah.
And a lot of families probably did struggle through there. It's just a shame that we couldn't really, a lot of them maybe was trying to find where they could get the support. And then I guess so many people tried. Probably some just the pride, just didn't want the help.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of the way that your reach, going out there and getting to yours, not just your members, because no doubt, you probably online, but then you had the kids or like other family members, because you come from families that are big families. Yeah. Maybe they were all in the class. So did you have any experience of that? Like all the kids and they were all jumping in?
Yeah, so we had a few families that have young children, and and they'll jump in the classes too. And we just allowed them. I said, whoever's in your household, brothers, sisters, anyone, just jump in. We actually got quite a few members from it, because they'll try out the Zoom class. And then all of a sudden, when we were open, it just broke that barrier of intimidation, that they thought, oh, well, I've done a few classes, what difference is it in person now? Yeah. So it actually opened up a pathway for us to actually build on more members. And it was actually quite funny, like outside of when we came out of the pandemic and the lockdown, we actually had, like a 30% growth in our membership from it, off the back of it. CrossFit Waitakere is on a main road, one of the main capillary roads that leads into Henderson Mall, and everyone just saw us training outside. So then we had a lot of drop-ins, people just signing up, and it was actually really beneficial for us, which is, small and medium-sized businesses really struggled throughout that time, so it was actually really good.
Oh, nice. Going in through the likes of, there was a mention of La Salle, bro.
Oh, good old De La Salle.
That would have been interesting times. No doubt you would have come across been in with a lot of stars as well in that time. The school, in terms like yourself, did you enjoy your time at La Salle?
Oh, look, I had family that had gone through De La Salle College, and it was the one thing that I wanted to. At the time, Brother Pat was the principal at the time, and I remember at my sixth form prize giving, he mentioned there, and I had come up and I had a pretty good year there in sports and academics, and I was really proud my dad was there. And then he mentioned to everyone that initially he never accepted me to the school. Yeah, and he says, and it was through some contacts that I was able to get in, and him and I were able to be very close. So, it was quite unusual. So we came from Papakura. There was quite a few from St. Mary's that went there. And my upbringing could have been totally different if I hadn't have gone to De La Salle, and I was able to. When I knew that I wasn't accepted initially, and then I did, I knew from there on in I wasn't going to take any chances with my education there, and every kind of opportunity that I got, I was going to take with both hands. Plus, also my third form teacher said, pick your friends wisely in the school, or you're going to get swallowed up by, by the other side of it and not achieve what you wanted. My sporting kind of really took me a long way there. Probably made me a few enemies as well, to be honest. I upset the apple cart in the hierarchy of things when I got there. But the people there were just amazing. The teachers were amazing. The school culture was awesome. They really pushed me to succeed, not just in schools, but in the academic side. and the kids, the people there, there were a lot of Pacific Islanders there, and that I'd come from a school that was predominantly European kids, so going to a school that had a lot of Pacific Islanders was very different, eye opener for me, but was also really rewarding for me. So De La Salle was huge in regards to that respect.
I think that's what the earlier PIs that came into Papakura, we all understood, like, a lot of we didn't have a big group of PIs in our school.
Yeah.
But like every time we kind of crossed and went into Manukau, Riu, and then like Otara, like just seeing the whole heap of Islanders was like, whoa. That was totally foreign to us.
Yeah, it was totally foreign. And like, so although it was something that I was very used to, going to church and seeing a lot of Pacific Island faces, actually being at an assembly with 800 kids, and most of those are Polynesians and Māori, is just like, whoa, this is next level. I've sat in an assembly of 300 at St. Mary's, and they're all Palangi children, like, and kids and students, and I'm going, wowzers. So it was an eye opener in that respect. A bit of adjustment, not majorly, but one of the things is that sports, like, I had to really understand that there's a lot of kids here and there's a lot of good sports people. So, you're going to have to find your place here, Pat. So the pressure was on.
Yeah. Did that help you in life, though, in terms of you were just whatever walks of life you came across out in Papakura, I guess, schooling out there, then going into other parts of Auckland? Do you think that sort of helped you be able to you got on with everyone? And that's just the nature of being out of Korea.
Yeah.
Like, we just got on with everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
So, do you find that sort of actually helped you going in towards life, I guess, into your business, to your sporting?
I definitely think if you can really tailor your approach to different cultures, understand it, embrace it, and that I think it's really advantageous. Like, it's huge. And going out of Papakura and Takanini that we had come from, and then, it was very different, going into Manukau and then into Mangere, and it's like, holy heck. And people are different. And then also moving out to West Auckland, to Henderson and all that. I never thought this is all Auckland, but then you go out there and they're different too. The Polynesians out there have a different mindset, different approach, and you've got to adjust that approach as well accordingly and embrace it. And I think holistically, it really rounds you as a person. Like, also, in my career, I'm a retailer through and through. So I started my career with Rebel Sports and went through to Puma 6 years. And that retail face-to-face was really cool. It really kind of opened up my communication skills and my ability to just open up a conversation. Then I went into a corporate business, which I owe a lot to. A business owner by the name of Joanna Wilson. She ran the Ultimate Recruitment Company. Love her to bits, and she taught me. She was the turning point in my career. Like, she taught me a lot about professionalism, just my approach. She really honed my sales skills, my spelling. I wasn't the greatest speller. She knocked that out of me really quick. But if it wasn't for her, and there's always integral people in your life that you come across that really you owe a lot to, because if it wasn't for them, I don't think your pathway would have gone down this way that it did. And she was one, and her family. So she ran a recruitment agency, and man, was I chucked in the deep end. But she taught me, and she was hard. Oh, she was hard. But man, if I wouldn't have had the successes I've had in my business running now if it wasn't for her. She taught me to face things front on, and if there was a boardroom of people, own that boardroom, command their attention, and for, Samoan people, like, humility is huge. You don't go in there and draw attention to yourself, sit there, be respectful, speak when you're spoken to, that kind of stuff. Yes, that's still in me, but I am a peacock. So I don't mind the attention, and, but also just owning your stuff, like going in there, and if you got to say you got to do something, do it well. So she taught me a lot of that. And then just my experiences from there. So all those different contexts I've had with different types of people from different backgrounds and different cultures has made me who I am today. Yeah.
It's good to see that when someone sees value in you, then it's like to be given the chance. you know, and just for us to recognize you've been given a chance to take it with two hands and don't look back.
Yeah.
So really good to hear that you've the way you've progressed and just the amount of people you've come across, crossed your path, crossed paths with you through life and being able to just influence you in a way.
Yeah.
I guess with sort of just winding down now, looking at encouragement for, I guess, for men, and then I guess our PI men, like just in terms of what someone may be going through, maybe their ideas on business. Like, would you have any encouragement for just our men before we finish off?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I suppose the biggest thing for me is the ability to continual learning. You know, continual learning is awesome. I learned very late in my life about the advantage and the of listening, like really listening and being engaged in conversation. To, you know, it shows a level of respect to the person that you're with. And I'm always a talker, so I'd always talk, and then learning how to actually sit there and listen is just as valuable. I think the biggest thing that I could say to people is, don't ever let your dreams die. I know it's really cliche, but you know, what have you got to lose? Like, calculate the risk, find the support, talk to as many people as you can, and then back yourself, believe in yourself. You know, everyone has the same slate in life, you know, and, you know, you do have only one life. So, you know, that calculated risk is, you know, is to jump in and do it, and don't second guess yourself, you know, but then also don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of channels out there that are willing to kind of support and help everyone to succeed. And that's, you know, just hold no boundaries on that. Like, I think that's kind of the way I look at things when I approach it. I look at something and say, you know what, I can do that. And I believe I can do it. Even when everything's telling me I can't, that's sometimes the only thing that you can hold on to get you through. So if anything like that is probably one of the biggest things I'll say from a business perspective. From a personal perspective is it's okay to show vulnerability. Like, it is tough out there. It's tough in the environment that we're in, with everything. There's a lot of pressures, and it's okay to not have everything, you know, sorted. It's okay. I'm the person that has everything in its box and want it organized, but I've learned very quickly in owning a business that, you know what, it's okay to wake up and not have everything sorted. It's okay to, you know, but take a breath.
Yeah.
Take a big breath and just know that, you know what, tomorrow the sun will rise, you know, and it's a new day, and go at it again, you know. So, and reflection is huge. Sit there and reflect on the things. Don't forget to pat yourself on the back and say, you know what, I'm a lot better than I was yesterday. So if that's what you take away from that day, then by all means celebrate those wins, you know. So, so good luck out there for anyone that is listening to this podcast, and hopefully I've resonated some of my experiences with those people. Yeah.
Plenty, bro. Like I said, man, I knew you'd have an awesome story, especially a value in your story. But yeah, I guess to be thankful for still be alive, I guess, with everything we've been given.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we haven't achieved it, well, tomorrow's another day, man.
Yeah,
we'll achieve it
exactly.
the next day. So once again, Pat, you know, opening up on business, on your own personal life as well, family, our two areas of from South Auckland, to reflect back on, you know, childhood and to where you are now. Man, awesome, bro. Like, yeah, like I said, there's definitely value there. We'll probably, I'll share your link on your the CrossFit, anything, maybe any of your other businesses that you want to, we'll definitely share that.
Thank you.
But bro, really thank you for coming on for the first one of season 2.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, Patrick Petelo, thank you, my man.
Talofa, thank you. I really appreciate your time and appreciate what you're doing as well. So it's great to reconnect with
yeah, my man.
As you know, from being kids. So thank you.
Cheers, man. Thank you. Well done, bro.
This one's for you and you and you. And you and you and you. This one's for you and you and you.
Da 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 da.